Cup Series race. Here are your hosts, Kevin Batstone, NASCAR Sky, and Jeff Davis.
Welcome back, NASCAR Nation, to another great episode of Mash the Gas Podcast. I'm Jeff Davis. Joining me shortly, Kevin Batstone and Miss NASCAR Sky. And we are here to break down and cover the Window World 450 from North Wilkesboro. First point race in quite a while, 30 years, guys. But first and foremost, hey, Kevin, who mashed the gas this week?
Over 10,000 days later, right? 30 years since we went to this great racetrack in North Carolina. Outside of the All-Star race, of course, Joey Logano says, I'm going to go ahead and take that. Leads 323 laps, just dominates, just a complete 22 domination. And you know what? It's always a good feeling, Sky, when I can say I picked another winner correctly.
Yeah, and I got to thank you. I mean, whatever you did worked for him, and I appreciate it. But no, seriously, it was good to see, Joey and Paul Wolf there, the whole 22 team just all fire on all cylinders. And I mean, obviously, diehard Logano fan it wasn't the Penske car I expected to dominate. I picked the 12 last weekend, and I really had a lot of faith in Blaney. So I was pleasantly surprised for sure to see Joey do not only good, but as well as he did. I mean, to completely dominate. I think he led 72% of the laps or something. It was the most that he's ever led in a single race in his career. So really cool all around. It was good to see his awesome burnout. I mean, I'm definitely happy with it. It put him back. He's no longer, he's in now. He's not struggling to get in. So hopefully he can keep this momentum up. The next few weeks we talked about are really good Penske tracks. So maybe get another win in there, or at least, start finishing really well.
Yeah, it was really cool to see him do that burnout. I thought it was awesome. He's thought at first he was kind of pulling the Kyle Larson, like when he won, doing it all around the track. But then he made that stop kind of on the backstretch there to pick up his son, and then continued it, which was really, really cool to see. But like you mentioned, Sky, leading the more laps than he's ever led in his career as far as in a single race. And like Kevin said, 45 race winless streaks. So, great job by Logano. He also finally beat old Ryan Blaney for getting the last 6 wins for Ford. Now Joey's got one for his first of the year and his 38th career win. So, he really did need it. And it's nice to see him. I think he's about 49 points above the cut line. But he did a great job. And I think he really deserved this one for just how dominant he was the entire race.
Yeah, and it was cool to see Denny Hamlin go over there and give him some handshake and said, oh, that's just short track racing, which was kind of a throwback to when the two of them got into it at Martinsville many years ago. So, some good class act there. I mean, he dominated. Nobody had anything for the 22. I was curious as we got down those last 50 laps, was the 11 saving his stuff? I couldn't tell because we know Denny's so good at, maintaining his brake rotors, maintaining that tire wear. We didn't see the fall off that I was expecting to see at this racetrack. That the surface wasn't as abrasive as some folks thought. 450 laps, I don't have a problem with that race length. I know some folks said it should have been about 400. Here's the reality, though. This race completed in under 3 hours. Right, from flag to flag. So to me, I think the race length was fine. I think the racing was good. A lot of green flag runs, guys. We only had 6 cars in the lead lap. I mean, that's what we see. Look what happened in the truck race on Saturday. Also a fantastic race. Chandler Smith goes out there and dominates. Biggest margin of victory in the Craftsman Truck Series history. Something about North Wilkesboro, it just races differently.
Yeah, I agree. I really liked the race. I think when you look at it, the word, it keeps getting thrown around that it's just like old type of racing. It's like old racing. And I think that it's beneficial to have that type of track in the sport. I mean, we have all these, we have the super speedways, we have the mile and a half, we have, the road courses. I think that it's something that, old fans can relate to, something that, they can look forward to every year. And I look at everything. I mean, like you just said about Chandler Smith, Joey just set the most laps led in his career. So he set a record there. I think that, I don't know. It's a really great track, and I love to see it evolve. And I think that there is some tweaking that can probably be done on NASCAR's end, with the package and everything. But I think that overall, I don't know. I liked it. It's something different than what we usually see, and I think that was really special.
And the fans absolutely loved it. That place was jam-packed. So it was really cool to see another sellout race. We've been seeing them so many times this year. It's just great. And again, Joey, I think like Kevin was kind of mentioning, if Denny had anything for him, because like you said, we know how Denny runs. I think it all came down to that very last pit stop. If Denny would have gotten ahead of Joey, because they pitted one lap apart. and Joey was able to just get out in front of him. But if Logano wasn't able to get out and is sitting there in second place, it might have been a different outcome, because we know how Denny Hamlin can block. There wasn't too many laps left. I can't remember exactly what it was, somewhere around 28 laps or something when they did pit. But Joey was able to get that speed and come out right there in front of Denny, and that is definitely what made the race for him. Length of the race, yeah, like Kevin said, under 3 hours, or right around 3 hours. That was perfect. So overall, I thought it was a great product. One of the things I do love about this track that we don't see a lot of the other ones other than road courses is actually having an incline and a little bit of a decline on the track. So it isn't much, but most tracks are pretty identical on their front and their back stretch. So to see, going into turn 2 and 3 on that back stretch, you got a 20-foot incline, and coming down from turn 4 into turn 1, it drops down about 20 feet, which also affects the way these guys are having to pit, being that they have to pit before turn 3. And, that's a short track. So those guys were running all the way around the track. And I'm sure that's kind of difficult for these drivers to try to get used to, just, the pitting and then the actual incline and decline when you're going into turns 3 and coming out of it into 4.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. It's a very technical racetrack. And I think I remember giving SVG kind of some praise. I knew he was going to dial into these short tracks. Typically, we see a little bit of road course racing experience play over into these difficult braking zones. These different inclines that you mentioned, Jeff, definitely made it challenging. And look, Joey Logano, he's a New England boy. He's from my area. These are the kind of short tracks that we grew up being at, racing at. That experience definitely carried over. And yeah, I mean, shout out to SVG. Another fantastic run for him on an oval. Best in Trackhouse by far. I think he's leaps and bounds better than those guys. I think Chastain's about cooked as far as making the chase. But, you mentioned pit road there. Coming off turn 2, you basically had to dive bomb down to get into turn 3. We saw what happened with the 48 coming across the nose of the 45, wiped each other out completely. I don't know how much I put that on Bowman. I think that was more of a spotter issue.
Yeah, we did see a lot of spotter issues because, according to what they were talking about, is where the spotters stand for this race. Even though it's right around a half mile, 0.6 of a mile, it is the shortest and hardest to get see all the way across to the other side. So I think that was a big part of it as well, Kevin. And Sky, I know you were thinking about the same thing, because it's tough when you're a spotter, and in those situations, it's almost like it's too small a track, obviously, to have 2 spotters, but when you can't see the other side, it's just darn near impossible.
I definitely agree, and I just think that it's something that's going to come with time. The more that we come back here, the spotters will they're going to figure it out. The same with the drivers. I mean, they're going to take every inch that they can and run with everything that they can. But overall, yeah, I thought Joey he performed really well, and I think the main difference too, like you were mentioning how he got off pit road really well. It's just Joey's just very disciplined. When you look and you compare him to someone like Denny, I just feel like Denny, he's always getting in trouble on pit road, speeding, this and that. I mean, Logano doesn't really do that, and usually his pit crews really well. Penske in general, there was, the weird thing with Blaney's pit crew earlier in the year, but I think that's stuff like that really plays in, especially in this older type of racing, being that disciplined, you have to hit everything 100%. And I think overall it's ultimately what helped Joey in the end.
Yeah, I mean, minimizing mistakes. We saw the 12 have issues on pit road, had to go to the back, started in the back, had that number 1 pit stall there, drove back through the field. I mean, I think the 12, if he didn't have the hiccups he had, he definitely would have been a player towards the end of this race. But again, how many times do we see, only 6 cars finish on the lead lap, right? And then you have Blaney, who was P11, 2 laps down. So then, that margin and how quickly you can lose laps on a short track like this. Sure, we see it at Bristol, we see it at Martinsville, but Jeff, it's pretty rare that we see a long green flag run to the point where if the caution did wave with 25 to go and you wanted to go put 4 fresh feel goods, you're going to come out P6 at the worst. So the strategy there was interesting. The cautions didn't really fall. I thought we were going to see a little bit more beating and banging there towards the end, but in those scenarios with only 6 cars in the lead lap, I mean, you're free to do whatever you want if that caution were to have fallen.
Yeah, you make a good point there on that, because it's crazy when you see that few cars on the lead lap, So that's why I was so impressed that Logano was actually able to hold that lead. And Kevin, like you mentioned a minute ago about SVG, that was his best career finish ever on an oval. And he's, we were talking about this earlier in the year, guys. At SVG, we knew he was going to win a lot of road courses. We knew he was going to do really well. But if he was going to stay in the chase, he would have to get his oval package down. And that's exactly what we're seeing out of him. So, yeah, he is definitely rocking it right now for doing what he is. And I think as long as he can keep that up, I know last time I was saying he could, as long as he stays around 18th or 15th, right around there, he'll be able to stay in. But if he keeps this up, oh man, he'll be in for sure. But as far as pit road goes, there were a couple issues there. Old Connor Zilich, this one kind of was. I don't know if this was on him or not, but it's tough on pit road when cars are coming and going, because when he got into the back right hand side of Kyle Larson, and they had to bring Larson back down, I think that's kind of what messed up Larson's race for the most part. But the old 88 he's still just having bad luck overall, you guys.
Yeah, it is rough over there. Pretty much it's like night and day with Trackhouse, because SVG is doing really well, honestly, for the most part. He's got the wins and he's performing well. He's making improvements at the minimum. It's so interesting with Ross. I feel like the first couple races of the season, he was up competing, for the lead or at least the top 10. So it's interesting to see his fall off. And then you look over to Daniel Suarez, the driver that they let go. And, he finished P9 at the last race, and he's been having just a pretty stellar season compared to the last few of his career. So it's just, I don't know. It's very interesting to see what's happening with Trackhouse. Hopefully, they have the rest of the season to figure it out, but it doesn't look like they're making any strides for that. SVG is looking like the only driver out of the camp that is. But I also, when you look up Todd Gilliland, 8th place finish, which is really good. And there he goes, now him and Blaney in season challenge, they're who's help. I'm surprised he is literally the Ty Dillon of last year. Honestly, better though.
Yeah, he's got a legit shot to win it. I just think Blaney's going to be too good at Indy, but who was it against last year? Was it Reddick that Ty Dillon ended up overtaking? You just never know what's going to happen. Indy's is a tough place. A lot can go wrong. A lot of pit strategy, speeding penalties, you name it. Track position is tough to come by there. But what do they call him? The Todd Father, something like that. He's definitely the Todd Father. So who knows? He might be able to pull this upset and win that $1 million. I heard he's going to be guest hosting Denny's podcast on the off week coming up here in just a few weeks. That'll be interesting. But yeah, look, when we look at the point standings where we're at here, the top 16, obviously Joey has now moved himself, I wouldn't say comfortably into the chase, Sky, but he's, gave himself a little cushion there, had a great points day, has the momentum now, right? He can build off this. He's a great short track racer. Indy, we'll see where he lands there, but you look at Iowa, you look at Richmond, you look at New Hampshire, these are tracks that he can win at. So I think Joey is definitely in. When I look at this top 16, guys, I think we have our chase. Unless maybe Eric Jones can go on a good run, I think pretty much the top 16 where we sit now is what we're going to see, when we get to Daytona.
I have to agree with you. I think that honestly, I'm shocked that Logano made it in, which I hate to even say that. I'm very proud of him. It's very great that he won. But now that I agree, and when I look at it too, I just feel like these are the drivers that we see consistently. But you never know. Anything could happen, especially Eric Jones. He's kind of a loose cannon because sometimes he performs really, really well at tracks that sometimes you don't always expect. So we'll see how it goes. But I can't believe it's getting that close. I feel like the season just started, honestly.
Yeah, it's gone by pretty darn quick. And, Joey being able to get 73 points out of one single race, obviously is what catapulted him into the numbers, gained him 2 spots and actually above the cutoff line. So we're going to just have to kind of see what happens throughout the rest of the season. But I think he'll stay in as long as he keeps running hot. And like Kevin mentioned, he's really good on a lot of these short tracks that are coming up. And Austin Cindric, I know he dropped 2 spots. So he's on the cutoff line right now. But what I thought was kind of cool is they almost had the same representation last week as they did this week as far as wins. All 3 of them finished P14 and above, and Blaney, I think if he wouldn't have gotten that speeding penalty and that had to do that pass through or start at the back, he would have been giving Joey a run for his money, and Hamlin. I think it would have been a little bit more of a fun race to see those 3 battling it out like they did. But one thing that I thought was pretty damn funny was when old SVG got that lead for a second. He got a few laps in there. Actually, got quite a few. He led the second most laps, 49 laps. But when he got that lead, he was laughing when he got on the radio, and I don't know if you heard it on the air, but he's like, "I'm leading. What the f do I do now?" And just was laughing about it, And I think the broadcasters were kind of joking. He's like, a lot of guys, when they're talking, be a lot more serious, and he's out there just laughing and having a good time. But it was really cool to see SVG do that. Really cool for Joey Logano to get that win. Like I said, those deserving points. But as far as the in-car challenge, Kevin's right. I do. Well, you're both right. I think Ryan Blaney is probably going to get it. You guys both picked him. I did not. So you're one up on me for that. But I would kind of like to see Todd Gilliland get it. I really would. Being the underdog that he is, getting that $1,000,000 would be super cool for him. It'd be cool for anybody to get it, but it'd be kind of cool to see the 34 be able to pull that off. So unless Blaney has just an absolutely terrible day in Indy next week, I think Blaney's probably going to take down that $1,000,000.
Yeah, like we said, unless Blaney has trouble, and no disrespect to Todd Gilliland, not like he can't go out and run well, right? I mean, top 10 here at North Wilkesboro. These guys can go out and run well in Indy. I'm not saying that, but I just think Blaney, it falls too much into his driving style. Those flat tracks, high speed. It's a Penske track, has been, right? Roger Penske has a lot of passion about Indy. I just, if you're a betting person and you want to make a bet, yeah, Todd Gilliland's probably a good guy to roll the dice on for sure to take this in-season thing. But I'm sticking with my original pick with Blaney taking it down. I haven't picked my race winner yet. We haven't quite got there, but overall, North Wilkesboro. The talk of the town today has been, should it stay as a points race? Should it stay on the circuit? Should it go back to being an all-star race? Should it be modified? Should we keep it at 450? Curious to get your guys' thoughts on that. I think that we don't touch it. We go back there next year. We keep it exactly the same. Move it to a Saturday night race, I guess would be the only thing I would say, right? Because we had folks getting out of there at close to midnight. People have to work Monday morning. I'd like to see us get back to Saturday nights, but I am advocating that we do a points race again in 2027.
Oh, I 100% agree. And I think that the sample size is too small. You got to go there a few times to kind of fill it out fully to maybe make that decision whether or not to go back. I really enjoyed the race. I'm pretty sure on Twitter, Gluck's thing, the last I checked, I feel like yes had majority of the votes. So I don't know. I would love to definitely see it back. And I like it. Not even just for the racing standpoint, but also because it's just easier on the teams. It's one of those tracks that's close by. It's not a lot of travel and stuff on everybody. And I think that that's very beneficial as well for them. So I don't know. I definitely think that we need to go back. And I think that you're right. I think it'd be nice to have like a Saturday night race there.
100% agree that they should definitely keep this race on the schedule for a points race. I absolutely loved it. I'd like to see more cars on the lead lap though. That kind of made a big difference there. But as far as we're going back to the brackets with Todd Gilliland and Ryan Blaney. Remember, guys, last year in Indy, Todd Gilliland actually took a P6 and Ryan Blaney took a P7. So it'll be really cool to see what's going to happen between the two, because maybe Gilliland can pull this off. I think he can. He is a damn good driver, and he did really, really well at Indy last year. So I think that'll be fun. But yeah, North Wilkesboro, keep it on there. I do think that, like Kevin mentioned, bring it to a Saturday night. I think anytime we do a night race, we should be doing them on Saturday nights. I know that, a lot of it has to deal with football and stuff like that when the season's actually playing and, competing on Sundays. But yeah, night races, why wouldn't you want to put them on a Saturday night when you have a lot of folks that know, that, hey, I have to get to work the next morning most likely, or I have to catch a flight out. Doing them on a Sunday night, and like we saw with all the rain delays and everything, you don't want to be there till 1, 2 in the morning trying to get out of the track, and then 3, 4 o'clock get home and have to go to work that same day. Like I said, a lot of people probably called in sick last week. But Saturday night racing under the lights, we used to have it here in Texas all the time, and we need to get back to it, Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have always been an advocate for Saturday night, especially short track Saturday night. There was just something about it. We do have, the Cookout 400 in Richmond. Was it August 15th? That's a Saturday night race. And of course, the race that Sky will be at representing will also be a Saturday race. But outside of that, that's it. The rest is all on Sunday for the rest of the year. So, that would be the only critique I would say is move it to Saturday. I don't see why that would be a huge issue with the broadcasting, right? You just move it up. I think it makes it easier on the fans. People are traveling, work, we kind of crossed all that. And speaking of broadcasting, what's your guys' thoughts on the TNT coverage as we get ready to go to Indy, right? This will be their last race on TNT before we have Lee Diffie and those guys take over with USA and NBC. What would you grade the TNT coverage?
I would say, I don't know, a B plus. I think, I've seen Prime is like the top of it. We can see what they do. And that would be kind of what I would grade like an A. So I would say probably B plus, for TNT.
I think the coverage has been pretty good. I agree with Sky 100%. I think, Amazon Prime is just, they're crushing it. They really do. They've got it down. Unfortunately, with the contracts the way they are, I don't think that's going to be up for another 2 more years before they can allocate any other races. Some 2 or 3 years, somewhere right around there. But overall, I think it was really well, other than there were too many damn commercials. It seemed like every 15th, 20 lap, I'm watching side by side, unless it was, during a stage break, and then they had full on commercials. But there are so many damn commercials when it comes to running it on TNT and Fox. We'll have to just kind of see what happens here on NBC and USA. But overall, yeah, I think they've been doing a really, really good job as far as their coverage goes on NBC.
Yeah, I would agree. I think they've done, B plus. I think that's a fair score that Sky gave out to those guys. Prime just set the bar too high. When we talk about commercials, Fox obviously ran a ton. I think we're going to see the same when we get over to USA and NBC. Just those major networks. At least they do the side by side. I do like that part. Right, we're showing pit times, things that we've always advocated for. Coverage is decent. I love Dale Jr. Anytime you can have Junebug involved with commentating, I think it makes our sport better. He understands it. He's a good voice for it. He's an owner in it. So yeah, I think all in all, good job by those guys. We did have some news come out this week as well as regarding Daytona and Talladega coming up later this year. A little bit of a different rules package, taking a little bit of drag out of it, bringing the spoiler down, should add a couple miles per hour in the single car run. We've been kind of advocating for this, Sky. We're not the biggest super speedway racing fans, but I'm open to it. Let's try something, right? Because I think what they're trying to do is recreate what we saw in Atlanta now and carry that over into Daytona and Talladega. And the only way to do that is to pull drag out of the race car. Until we get there, it sounds good on paper, but I don't know. What are you guys thinking?
Yeah, I'm thinking I got to see it in action. You know what I mean? Because I agree. And you can look at something, you can hear what they say, look at it on paper and think, oh, this is a good idea or this is a bad idea. But until you actually see the product in action, but I agree. I'm down to try anything. And I like that NASCAR, I've said it so many times. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I'm glad that NASCAR is just trying new things this year. Like, I really appreciate it. And I'm interested to see how it goes. And, we were talking about the broadcasting. I agree. I love Dale Jr. and anytime that he's involved in anything is so nice. And everybody that we've got to see this year brought back, like Carl Edwards and stuff, has been really cool. I'm excited for Lee Duffy, and I'm always so sad that, I have to miss him at the Daytona race because his calls are always so good. But obviously, since I'll be there, I won't be able to hear it live. But I'm excited to see, for the rest of the season. And I'm excited to see how this works for Daytona and Talladega.
Sky, you're right. As far as, NASCAR trying new things, it seems like this year, especially, they have been more than trying to wiggle some things around. Like even for this race, they went with a little bit softer of a bumper, which I'm sure was in the driver's minds a little bit more about when, you're going to give them that bump and run. So bringing that spoiler down for Daytona and for Talladega down to 4 inches from, I think it was 7? Is that right, Kevin? 7 inches. Anyway, 7 inches, I think, is where it was at. Bringing it down to 4 should create a little bit better passing opportunities, taking that downforce off a little bit. But like Sky mentioned, on paper, stuff looks great until you see the product actually on the track. But I am glad that they're actually trying it and making, trying to make a change, because we need to see. They think it's going to give them approximately 4 miles an hour more in speed, hopefully. As far as, drafting, though, I think it's going to keep it about the same, because whether you've got a 4 or a 7-inch spoiler on there, when you're drafting and you're only a couple inches off that bumper, that airflow is going just right on over onto the next car. So I don't think it's going to make a difference at all as far as drafting goes. As far as single car runs, yeah, I think it's going to make a little bit of a difference in speed.
Yeah, I think it will too. I think the only thing that I'm not sure how it's going to pan out is the horsepower, right? Because I think when you pull drag out and you don't modify the horsepower, what does that end up doing, right? Sure, you can gain a little bit single car runs. We know you can't stick your hand out the window in qualifying anymore to gain that tenth of a second, whatever those guys were getting. But without the horsepower there, the high end, that's where it's going to be a problem because we saw it at Talladega plenty of times where guys would try to go create that top line, right? Get a run. With this next gen, we're not really seeing that energy generate as much. Atlanta is kind of an exception, right? Because it's a mile and a half. It runs a little bit differently. You can get runs, but Talladega and Daytona has just become kind of a single car, two car. You get a run, you get you're not really seeing outside of what Ryan Blaney did, completely dominating Atlanta. We just haven't seen the super speedway racing that we once saw when we had the 850, the 875, the 900 horsepower packages, 10, 15 years ago. So I think it's a good move, right? I don't want to don't knock it till you try it. We'll see where we're at when we get to Daytona. I think the drivers overall, it sounds like they're pretty optimistic about it. We all know that Daytona closes out, quote unquote, the regular season, which we were mentioning no longer has a trophy anymore. So that's kind of interesting. It's going to be survival mode at that point. It's not like the playoffs last year, Sky, where Harrison Burton or somebody can go out and snag a win real quick and get into the playoffs. So good time to try it. We'll see how it works. We'll get to Talladega and kind of build on it from there.
I'm interested to see if that changes the mindsets of the drivers and to see if maybe they calm down a little bit while they're driving, to know that like you can't just throw caution to the wind and get wrecked out and have a last place finish. Like you actually have to survive. You have to make sure that you're finishing while you're getting as many points as possible because really every point counts. And we've seen it time and time again throughout the history of NASCAR. Like you got to get every point or else it's going to come back and bite you. And so hopefully I'm just interested to see if it just how it all works out. Maybe all the drivers will calm down and it's not like a last ditch effort to all these other teams to kind of make it into the, like you said, quote unquote playoffs. I don't know. This might be a lot of wishful thinking because sometimes the drivers just are crazy at these tracks, it feels like. So I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I'm willing to give it a go and see where we're at. Obviously, we're headed to the Brickyard this weekend. What an iconic place. We talked about the attendance in NASCAR being so high, Jeff. Look, Indianapolis has 275,000 seats in the grandstands. That's not including camping. That's not including standing room only. The Indy 500, we've seen well over 350,000 people there. So I'm not expecting a sellout this weekend just for the sheer amount of people you can pack into this facility, but it is certainly iconic. I love that we went back to, the oval, they call it. It's really a rectangle, right? A massive brickyard rectangle. A lot of history here. We know Jeff Gordon got the inaugural win. A lot of guys want to win here. It's considered one of our crown jewels. We know Bubba Wallace went out, got that emotional win here a year ago. So I don't know. What are we thinking for Indy, guys?
This is going to be a tough one. And speaking of Jeff Gordon, he's actually the last driver to win a points race at North Wilkesboro 30 years ago, which was pretty damn awesome. But yeah, this is a really flat track, like you're mentioning, and Bubba Wallace, maybe he can pull it off. Look at Blaney or not Blaney, but Joey Logano winning this race. It took him a little over a year to do it. And last time Bubba got a win was actually at the Brickyard 400 in 2025. So can he repeat it? I mean, he did have some decent speed this weekend on a short track, but can he repeat what he did last year? Because this will be, he's got 3 wins. I think he's got Talladega, it was his first win in 21. He won in Kansas in 22. Took a hiatus in 23 and 24 for wins, but then got his 3rd career win at Indy. So I think it is going to be a good track. I'm not sure quite who to pick yet. I think I'm going to let you guys go first on this one.
Yeah, I've been bouncing around a few drivers. I looked at the other tracks that are similar to Indy that, we can compare to see. And yeah, I don't know. And, I'm looking too. Todd Gilliland, he's not looking too bad. And Jeff, I think that, since we had kind of already made our pick with Blaney, we've already sealed that deal. I think that maybe you should go with Todd. I just feel like there is a really strong chance there that, he can place higher than Blaney, especially with Blaney making that mistake on pit road. Because you never really know what could happen. But yeah, I agree. I'm looking through, there's like a handful of drivers, and I feel like there are a lot of the repeat drivers that you guys pick. So I'm interested to see. I don't know, Kevin, we're going to put you on the spot now. Who do you have winning?
Yeah, Indy's tough. It's just it's tough to crunch numbers here. It's such a a lot of fuel strategy. Fuel's going to be an issue. It always is. Every year at Indy, fuel becomes an issue. Late stages, tires. I'm not too concerned about that. We'll see kind of when we get to practice if that's gonna wear and play into it. Look, the Toyotas, I feel like are going to be the safe bet. My initial gut was to go with Tyler Reddick because I feel like Tyler needs to kind of get something going again in his direction, get a win. It's been a while since he won. I'm not going to go with the 45. I'm going to take the guy that I've picked more times than any other driver this year, and that's Denny Hamlin. Denny's wanted this. He's wanted it for a long time. He's been close. He finished P3 here last year. I think the 11, our points leader, is going to go out and get it done.
All right. Well, Kevin, you took who I was thinking would probably take this win, and that was going to be Denny Hamlin, that you've already got him. And I want to take Kyle Larson, but Hendricks is just so up and down, and they still don't. They're still not quite where they should be, and I think they're going to kind of struggle. Because I wanted, Larson took P2 there last year. Bubba, he might be able to do it again. But I'm going to have fun with this one. I'm going to go with what Sky recommended. I'm going to go with Todd Gilliland, being that he got a P6. I'd love to see him go up there, get this win, and win that $1 million, you guys.
I honestly don't think it's a bad idea because, he has that momentum with the in-season challenge. I know it might not be a lot to the other drivers or to a lot of the fans, but in his world, that's a really big deal for him right now. So with that momentum and plus looking back at Indy, that he continues to place well here, I think that it's a pretty strong bet to see him go. And I like that you're going out on the limb a little bit and you're not just doing the safe bet, because Larson is a driver that I was looking at, the 45 as well and the 11. But I think I'm going to go with Bubba Wallace. I don't know. I just feel like, he's been wanting one lately. You can only do so much when you watch your teammate go out there and win, so many races in a row. I don't know. I think it's Bubba Wallace's time, and I think he thinks it's his time too.
I think that's a good pick, but I'm glad you nudged me into Todd, just because, like I said, I know with that P6 there last year, and like you just mentioned, the momentum that he's got, and he's got to be. This is the race for me. This is it. This is the one I have to win. It's $1 million on the line. I want to see him do it. So yeah, go Todd Gilliland.
They're all great picks for sure. And I think RFK Fords, if we're talking kind of fantasy, who to pack your lineup with as we get into the summer months, a lot of folks are running out of drivers. I think it's a good opportunity. When we look at some of the drivers that have run well here, last year, BK finishing P5, Ryan Preece, P4. Those RFK Fords are due. I keep expecting speed out of these guys, and we just really haven't seen it come to life. But it's a good opportunity. Indy's kind of a good reset. We're past the halfway point. We're on the final stretch. It's time to let her rip Tater Chip on the Brickyard. And it's definitely been a racetrack that has brought its crown jewel, right? We talk about Daytona 500, the Coca-Cola 600, the Brickyard. This is a big one. Everybody wants to win it. It means a lot. Gasoline Alley, just a fantastic racetrack. So I'm expecting it to be a good weekend. We'll be back next Monday night to break down all the action from the Brickyard. Be sure to follow us across the board at Mash the Gas Podcast. Mash that subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening to us on. Follow Sky over there at NASCAR Sky. And until then, y'all, mash the gas.